welcome to Lilybugs Library. My name is Linda, or welcome back if you've been here before. Today we're doing our Friday reads. So I only read two books this week. One I listened to and one I physically read, but both were good. The first one was the audiobook, and that one was called I Can See You Called In Dead, which I thought was a great name, and that's what attracted me to the book. Now, if I look away, it's because I'm looking at my notes, so I apologize. I tried to stick them kind of in front, but the paper just keeps falling down, so this is the best we can do. But it was about Bud Stanley. So he was an obituary writer, but he was kind of afraid to live. His wife recently left him, and then he goes on this blind date where the woman ends up showing up with her boyfriend that she just got back together with, and the whole thing kind of throws him for a loop. So he ended up getting drunk, and he went home and wrote his own obituary, but unfortunately he also published it. So now, according to his boss, he's dead. And so it's all about him trying to get that sorted out, trying to figure out how to live his life, and kind of come out of the depression that he's been in. So it did win a Thurber Prize. I assume that's like the Booker Prize and, all these different ones that they have out there. So this one was a Thurber Prize winner. And in some ways, I do find him kind of similar to the writing of Frederick Backman. And he's got all kinds of it's so funny in parts, and he's got such quirky characters. And then just when you think that that's all there is to it, that it's just a comedy, you're kind of hit with some kind of depth and wisdom, and all of a sudden there's like these sentences that just make you sob with their simple truths, and it's a character driven novel that I didn't know I needed to hear. He has so many things going on, and there's so many things that he's dealing with. And then he has this coworker. I can't remember the coworker's name, but it's a gay coworker, and they have, I won't even say a love-hate relationship because it's not that strong of a relationship, more like a like-dislike relationship. And just because Bud is very, he's I don't know really how old he is, but he kind of comes across as someone with, maybe attitudes that aren't always as modern as what they could be. He's not really good at political correctness or any of that. And, his coworker just thinks he's an annoying cis white man, and, he has a bad sense of humor and all these sort of things. But then his coworker ends up with someone else, while after Bud's declared dead, he gets a new coworker. And this guy is, in his mind, even worse because the guy calls him bro and bruh and all these things, and told Bud's coworker that he was a racist, and it just didn't work out well. So in some ways, throughout the book, they kind of started to bond a little just over the fact that he's not as bad as this guy. So it's kind of funny. But the character of Bud often uses like humor and sarcasm to deal with his emotions. Yeah, right there with you, Bud. Me too. But he does have a lot of character growth in the book, and he starts to realize that there's more to life than just that little dash between your birth date and your death date. So I thought it was really good. Very well done. A lot of laughter in it, some tears, and just a lot of good character growth. So I would give that one, I would say 4 out of 5. So really enjoyed that one. So the next one I finished is the first one that I finished for Big Book Summer. And this one, I think it came in around 425 pages, somewhere around there. And this one is The Last Rose of Shanghai. And it was also really good. It starts out in 1940, and Yi is a heiress who had owned a nightclub, and it was called the Journey of a I don't know. I can't remember the name of the nightclub. Doesn't really matter. But anyway, she owns this nightclub, but it's not really doing that well because Shanghai, where she has the nightclub at, has been occupied by Japan, and so there's a lot of tension there and a lot of abuse, and people are starting to get scared to go out to nightclubs or to go anywhere really, and she has a hard time getting liquor for the nightclub, so people don't want to go because if she does have some, she's watering it down so it can last longer. So it's getting a little hard for her to make a living. And then this Jewish man, Ernest Reisman, he was driven out of Germany for being Jewish and was thankfully at that point allowed to leave. So he made his way to Shanghai and kind of, I mean, it wasn't quite as bad at that point in Shanghai. It does start to get quite bad, but he ends up there with his younger sister, and he ends up meeting IE, and she hears him play piano at another club, and she decides to hire him because he can play jazz, which is what she likes because it's American and people are more interested in it. And at the time, there's a lot of Americans and Britons in Shanghai because of the Japanese occupation and, all of that's going on. So it's really, it's a really kind of spans all of her lifetime, from the point where she first meets Ernest and the relationship that they end up building together, and then trying to navigate everything between war and poverty and hatred and the violence that was going on. And it just got worse as they were further into the war. And so it really becomes more and more intense. And the Japanese people at the time, were very brutal towards the people from China. And, in turn, the people from China, sometimes as well as the Japanese, could be brutal towards these refugees from other countries. And, Ernest had left Germany because he wasn't wanted there because he was Jewish. And then he comes to Shanghai, where he's not really wanted there because he's a foreigner or a refugee. So there's a lot that they go through, and it does have some spice in it. It was more out of desperation and trying to cling to something good than anything like in a normal romance book where it's, about fun or it's about love or it's casual or, it wasn't really that sort of thing. It was more what you would expect because they were in the middle of a war and they didn't know if they were going to survive. And so it had more of that desperation to it. But there is some. And it's, the whole thing goes pretty much from through the 1940s, and then it also, there's some parts that are in the 1980s where IE has brought in a documentarian to tell her whole story and see if she would make like a movie or a documentary about it. So it goes between those two dates, but most of it, I would say, would be in the 1940s. So really well done. Again, really character driven. A lot of, there was certainly character growth, especially I think with IE, somewhat with Ernest too. But it's the main part where I think, as far as IE, the fact that she grew, a lot of times, neither one of them had a choice. Like, you had to learn to adapt because that's what was going on in the world, which maybe is how we all grow. But the one part that sticks out to me at the moment is just her going into a market, which there wasn't much in the market at this point because, most things had already been bought or stolen. But she goes in and has no idea, how to shop because she was wealthy and she didn't do the shopping. And so it's a whole different life for her. So yeah, it was, I really enjoyed it. Thought the writing was really good. Parts of it certainly were a little hard to read, some of the violence and things that takes place. But I would give that one 4 out of 5 as well. So I thought they did a really good job. And for something that was over 400 pages, I felt it moved along really quickly. So I was happy with that one too. So that is the two that I read this week. Kind of short and sweet today. But I'm going to start on Isabella Street by Genevieve Graham, which will be my next big book. And then I'm going to throw in a few novellas first. I kind of need to just take a breath after that last one because it was so intense. So I need something a little bit lighthearted before I kind of move into the next one. Genevieve Graham, it's likely to be intense as well, so I want to make sure I've had a little break in between the two. So that's about it. It's kind of gray and has been a little bit rainy here, so our nice few days of sunshine are over for the weekend. We've got a few days of rain coming, and my body certainly feels it today. It's not very happy about the change in weather, but what can you do? So I hope everybody has a great weekend, and I will see you on Tuesday for Tag Tuesday. All right, bye-bye.